Workbook activities. Workbook activity, year 3, lesson 5, number 1 is on pages 113 and 114 of the Extreme 2 Discourses by Harold Klemp. I said, "Phew," and altered my attention to my inner self-mastery. That confirms that none of us should seek another Lord and Master except God. It relates to my life right now because I have already been an instrument of discouraging worship of other than God. I think a lot of people would like to pay for the past in dreams, but this is probably just wishful thinking and even trying to make a person feel like they are accomplishing things in mental illness or even demoniac dreams, because both those are things that aren't just issues with outer life, the demoniac and psychological problems. The next page is the next work activity. Everyone wants to gain achievements quicker than they are at some point. My own life seems not to fit in with the implied message that people have to slow down in their advancement. Outside of Eckankar, my knowledge and experience tends to be valued more in terms of skill and quantity rather than mere years on a list. The law of spiritual progression, like much of the spiritual laws of life by Harold Klemp, I've already done that series, seems less like a coherent and cohesive rule than a dogmatic rambling that requires an echist's own fumbling or rationalization to accept completely. Most would think spiritual advancement is continued through slowly adapting to be more conscious and more pious instead. The following page has the workbook activity after that. Does the dream of a woman ordering prisoners torture for amusement show how she abused power in the past or symbolize her hardship in moral terms? Does dreaming of priestesses leading human sacrifice show how she abused power or represent how she would support her friend and her husband would support her in the spiritual path she shares with her friend? Please don't pray to something inside you if you don't mean God as separate from yourself. I think we all can figure out circumstances where love was chosen over power. Then is a page with another workbook activity. Many insights can be gained from Charles's dream. Don't downplay the physical side. Don't become arrogant due to your neglect, due to your intellect. Don't fight yourself. Eckankar's Mahanta or way show might be spreading a spiritual plague. Eckankar can make people feel immune to the psychic effects of what they make part of their life. Eckankar uses fear to control others. Eckankar offers what it does for a price. Legacy goes on after death. Don't embrace the evils within, reform them. You are more valuable compared to any guru than they make you feel. At least in terms of your own life, right? Workbook activity 355 is on page 118 of Extreme 2 Discourses by Harold Klemp. Harold Klemp makes clear when he speaks of fallen leaves are people who don't live up to his expectations of their initiation, and weeds are people who fall short of devout practice. An unquestioning belief in Eckankar that he doesn't have unconditional love. I'm certainly not going to sing Hugh like H-U-E and fantasize about how this alleged Eckmaster loves me. I've already shared about the clip from the Golden Seed in the audio section. I don't think there's any need I have that would require a past life explanation. I don't want to accept my evil and ignorant traits if I have any. Wouldn't one have to do away with them or turn those aspects of the personality towards righteousness and truth to advance spiritually? The following workbook activity is on the page after that. The picture that represents the quote on page 111 and Tom's story on page 112 of the Extreme 2 Discourses by Harold Klemp is of a scuffed but sturdy car with a cabin cruiser on its hitch. On the left of the front window is a sticker with the Alei are restless in green on the bottom row, Kala are tense in pink above that, Mana are mental in orange above that, and Baju are arm in purple on the top row. There is an electric colored jack on the outside connected to an air pump. Then comes 2 pages for the next workbook activity. Instead of 2 of the stories, I'll share a thought on each of those listed. Gary's dream of car passing 5 cars may indicate the danger of seeking initiations and that he isn't as far along as his initiations make him feel. The country western singer's feelings of kinship with the Aboriginal people of America was probably just needless white guilt. The idea of a northerner as a southerner in the next life is probably a misplacement of the concept of people being able to enact local laws, not being something people outside the South cared about. The idea of a factory owner being reborn to be a child hurrier in a coal mine is not as exacting as most ideas of judgment after life. A woman who thought she had a past life in Atlantis probably just needs to spend less time with fiction. A higher initiate who thought she had a past life in Egypt probably just needs to realize she thinks she holds spiritual power over people and is in a group with similar goals to control dark forces. Charles's dream of the Middle Ages may have just exposed that legal business isn't always morally acceptable. Laverne's dream of medieval soldiers attacking her and children may just represent her refusal to accept that women and children do have distinctive roles in society because of their differences from men. Tom's dream of the used car may just represent how he is frustrated with his lack of access or rank in the military. The person dreaming about Eckankar's future is true as far as the ability for Eckankar to have some membership in most countries and to have been heard about in almost all of the rest. A seed of potency may mean that Eckankar is just a fragmentary reflection and semblance of the varieties of things that true religion is supposed to be. Another passage to revisit is from this month's exercise part and can show that the real power of the Eckankar teachings is not in the corporation, but in the imagination of their devotees. The 8th workbook activity of lesson 5 of the Eck Dream 2 Discourses by Harold Klemp is on the next page. The Eck in a circle logo, EK, is usually black, blue, gold, or even white. Since I painted one on a pair of sweatpants multicolored, I see it with the semi-circle line as orange. The first line from that is purple. The lines of the K as blue, red, yellow, and green. My secret word, Vana, is my individual form of the collective hue. Mana is thought, and the true alchemy here is mainly intellectual. The last workbook activity of this discourse may be said to continue past the initial page to include the last 2 pages too. I don't need any new Eckankar books or practices for my development, but I will read Karma Busters and other ones if I get them. I am not noticing any changes in my dreams from the past month, but as I'm writing this, I haven't switched to working spiritual exercise of Eck for month 29. I don't write initiate reports as charms to be read astrally, and don't think you should either.